Welcome to Sacred Conversations with Wendy Bee, where we explore the sacred in everyday life and discover practical ways to bring more healing, meaning, and connection into our daily journey. Come with me while we live with intention, love with purpose, and connect in the sacred.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Sacred Conversations with Wendy Bee. So following along the whole theme of today, firstly, before we got on air, I heard the word expansion. And that's the word that it seems to feel across the board right now with everybody, what we've been talking behind the scenes and all those who have presented today. So one of the things I really wanted to talk about is the sacred power of words. So we've been talking about, checking our internal dialogue and all these different things. So I figured we'd talk about how the power of words, speaking truth to power, empowering ourselves, those around us, how our daily dialogue really affects how we move forward and how we can actually set ourselves up for failure or success. So we touched upon it last week when we talked about the word bill and how many different meanings it has, all these different words, how they empower, how they disempower. One of those words that sticks with me a lot is the word comprehend and understand. So if we think about the word understand, it's a statement that's made and we're standing underneath that. And that can go to legalese and other ways. And for me, that word doesn't sound as all-encompassing as the word comprehend. When you use the word comprehend, it really means that you've gone deeper to take it in on a deeper level. The other word that I find that is, that can trip us up are, think of the different words that we use that can be disempowering. So I go back to a statement of one of my clients back in the day where we were doing a session and she was talking about, I did this interview and I asked her, how did it go? And she's like, I think I did great, but I don't think I got the job. So she's already speaking truth to what's going to be her reality based on that statement. I'm like, why can't we just move forward, speak to ourselves in a way that's empowering, or, like if the universe is going to conspire in our favor? So think about how those words either empower or disempower. And, there's a cute saying that I had put out there that words have power and words are magical. That's why we call it spelling. So think about how we spell, what those words mean like. So if you really wanted to empower something that you're doing on a daily basis, how are you fueling that? How are you empowering yourself to move forward in your own language? And I want to touch upon something that's really important. With the previous segment, we're talking about skin and how the skin takes in and the things that we put on our skin. Well, think about what it is that you're saying to yourself. For example, I hear on TV commercials when they're talking about drugs and that kind of thing, my fibromyalgia, or my depression, or my cancer. Let's stop claiming these things. We're disempowering ourselves by automatically claiming this as ours. It's a condition you have, but you don't want to make this part of your identity. So these are thoughts that are very, very important. Apart from that, how are we speaking to ourselves? If we're saying things to ourselves, and the power of words also goes along with that internal dialogue. So if it has that weight of how we are empowering those around us, how we show up for them, and how we show up for ourselves. So if we're speaking and we hear somebody say, let me record that conversation. Let's imagine that somebody's recording our daily conversations with ourselves. If we were to listen back to that tape, what would it sound like? Would it sound like we're empowering ourselves? Does it make us feel good? Would it make somebody else if we were saying those words? So stop and be intentional with what you're saying. It's Monday, it's going to be a bad day. It's just another manic Monday, as the song goes. Really think about what that looks like. And in a sense take charge. You know, we know that our God, or you know, our architect of our life is the primary driving force, because why we do what we do. However, we take a second and we can build upon that with our internal dialogue, with empowering words and being mindful of those things. How does that empower us, and how can we take our better step forward? And once we do that for ourselves, those that are in our circle, those that are in our sphere, are also affected by that, and you grow that empowered bubble, if you will. So if each of us take each of our tendons and each of our perspectives, as one would say, and really take charge in a sense of what our dialogue is, it encourages others to do the same. And then now you have a more positive bubble. So with that being said, think about how many times other things have come up, or you know, your child comes up to you and has a conversation and everything is doom and gloom in their conversation. How would we empower them? How would we help encourage them? How would we want to expand them? So words really can go two ways. We can say one thing and it can build, or it can tear down. We can divide, or we can connect. So this is really an invitation on thinking about what it is that we want to say and how it empowers us, and each of the things. Once you've had those, you've been able to sit and think about the words that you're saying, now it carries into your actions. It carries through to your hands. It carries through your being. Our guest on the other side of previously was talking about how he hears God, and he's moving through the hands of God. In a sense, that's what our language is doing. We're moving through what we hear, what comes in, and how we show up for those things. So I took down a couple of notes because I didn't want to forget anything that was important. So how can you ask yourself, how can you respond in a way that aligns with who you want to be? So you can start there. If when you're going to open your mouth to say something to someone, is it kind? Think about it. Is it kind? Is it helpful? Is it going to assist the dialogue in going to a higher place? Are we gossiping? All of those things have a way of what you fling out. It's like a boomerang effect. Comes right back at you. How people hear you, how you present yourself, how you present your ideas. People listen to that. They mirror it, and you'll get it back. What you reap, what you sow. So words are like seeds. What do you want to grow? Do you have anything that you might want to add to that, Dawn?
So my question is, when things start going awry, and they may not be feeling expansive, and things get a little funky, bumpy, people's first inclination is to panic, to feel bad, to say, what am I going to do? Do you just not say those things? Do you pretend like, oh, all is great because you're going to walk in faith? Or what do you do? How do you handle something like that? Because it's summer and businesses are a little funky, bumpy right now.
Yep. So this is a really interesting and good question. So if we really think about it, it's stop. There's always the breath. I tell you, everything really does come down to the breath. There are many times, like I had a situation over the weekend where I told my husband, he was my sounding board. I said, I'm going to say some stuff. I just need to not be judged. Let me say what I have to say, and I'll be able to sort it out. So the first thing I want to say is take the breath. Secondly, if you have the ability to pause, have somebody who can be your sounding board, who can listen to you without judgment and say, you know what, maybe you're not seeing this kind of side or whatnot. But like I told him, I really wanted to go off on a tangent on this person. And what I decided to do was, instead of listening to the little devil on the one shoulder, take the breath, take a moment to really look at it from a higher perspective. Not that anybody's on a higher rung from any particular place, but start at your entry point. If you're able to one day really listen to what your own words are and to say, is this really empowering? It really comes down to that. Am I helping? Are my words going to help? Are they going to tear down? Now, of course, this is based on a personality. Some people don't really care. I say what I say. This is what it comes out to. But you had said something earlier, Dawn, about our eloquence or being able to speak up exactly what we need to say, that it has to, I really want my words to match what my energy is. And I tell you that those words were really, really important to me. One of our gifts that we have, we talk about clairaudience and clairvoyance and all these things. One of those is claireloquence. And when we are connecting to spirit, like the other gentleman and all the different ways that we do, when I'm tapping in, there are times that I'm trying to channel a message, and spirit, if I go to say the wrong word or a word that doesn't quite match the energy, spirit will help me literally take me by the scruff of my neck and pull me back and say, that's not quite how we want to say that. So for me, words are really important, that they match the energy with which I'm trying to put them out. So if I'm just like, let me just go ahead and say it and just be brisk. There are people who are like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we want to talk to the people who really are mindful and aware that they create with their words. Actors do this, singers do that when they convey their energy with the matching of the music as well as the lyrics that they're saying. Think about how we feel when we hear certain songs and what they elicit for emotions and this kind of thing. This is why faith music moves us. This is why meditation music, or they gently move us. So if we can be aware that words and energies and vibrations are all pretty much commingled together, it makes it easier when we're going to say those words. So
let me ask you a question. When people get frustrated, when someone gets sick, when somebody loses their job, when typical bad things happen, right? How do you not say those words, but reframe it? Because it is what it is. I lost my job, this happened, somebody's sick, and those emotions are going to make you feel pretty bad.
Of course.
So how do you rephrase it so it's in a positive, or
choose
your words?
It's a
Bad things happen to good people.
Yeah, things happen.
Well, let me real quick. There was a show that I saw where a guy lost his job. He was there for 27 years, and he lost his job, and he was devastated. And he went on a talk show. And it's the guy with the mustache. I don't want to use his name because I'm not allowed to, but what he said to him, I'll never forget. He said to him, God needed you somewhere else. And that job was great, but that job is done. And now he's going to put you in another place. And believe it or not, the guy always wanted to be a chef. And he is one of the biggest chefs in New York City now. It took him 3 years to build this empire of a restaurant that he would never have gotten done in the job that he lost for 27 years. But he did that job because he had family to take care of. His mother was sick, and then his father got sick, and the whole night. But sometimes you're in the right place at the right time. It isn't time to feel bad. It's time to look and find the other way. And this is what I was going to ask Wendy. Sometimes people, if they don't buy in, they're not going to believe what you're saying, and they're not going to have a shot at living that dream. You got to feel it, not just say it.
1000%.
You got to walk it, not just spray it. You got to be able, when you tell somebody it's going to be okay, if you don't feel it's going to be okay, they're not going to buy in. They're not going to buy
What do
in.
you think, Steve?
Yeah, well, Wendy mentioned a great phrase before. She said be in a positive bubble. And I think that's a huge thing to be part of. It's like my existence since I met Sally and have been introduced here and met people like Wendy and you, Dawn, and Freddie and Dana and Russ and a host of other people that have helped me learn something that I never knew existed. It has helped me to be in that positive bubble. I'm a different person today.
Well, it's good because the bottom line here is, it's like the guest that we had today. She's very nervous, and being nervous means you're growing. Being nervous means you're learning. And the same thing that happened to you, Steve, you came into this whole realm and learned and continue to learn. You're good at it because you actually bought in and say, maybe there is another term that you didn't understand yet, and now you do. And it sort of enlightens you to a whole different era. I mean, you guys got married, what, 3 years ago?
Almost 4, right?
Almost 4 now?
Well, it'll be 4 in December.
Which is amazing. That you, and I saw your reaction here, some of the things that you were witnessing and some of the things that you were seeing, because everybody has that other side. Same thing with Wendy. She has this other side of delivery, of understanding. And Dawn, you know, not for nothing, but I've known you close to 15 years. And if you ask me back then that we were still going to be doing this 10 years later, I would have said absolutely not. No way in the world did I think this was going to happen. Did I want it to happen? Yes. Could it happen? Yes. But you have to buy in. You have to believe the words. You have to believe the words that are being used. Let's get it done. And there you have it.
The strangest part, which Steve he knows what I'm saying, because before we came here, I said I wanted my show, which I don't often talk about before I'm actually on the air. I said, but I want it on a higher vibrational energy, but I'm meaning that's attached to words. And I was talking about words. I said, words, I said that to you when we said something in the car. I said, no, I can't. I've got to put the right words to that. So today I've been so conscious, and since yesterday, about what we speak, because what we speak we bring into our lives. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So to answer your question, Dawn, about, you know, we get bad news or these types of things, I'm going to answer as candidly as I can. There are times where I receive the news and I don't know what it is. There's just something that kind of lays over me. I get kind of calm and I'm thinking about it and I'm putting it into a way that I can articulate it, break it down. Now you're right. There are times that things go and you'll hear the F-bombs, you'll hear the words. I've got to articulate that emotion and move it. Some people exercise, some people run. You know, there's different ways to go about shifting that energy. But then because it comes along with words, I'll tell straight up, I'll give all of the words, we can fill them all in. And then after I'm done, okay, now that it's out, let me sit with this, and how do I want to process it? How do I want to articulate it? I'm also, my husband says I'm a good diplomat. So there are times that I can hear arguments and words, and I can hear that they're trying to understand each other, and they're not able to. But I can hear the nuance, and I can say, hey, you know what, I hear this. Let me try to see if I can convey it so the other person gets it. Because in the heat of the moment or being steadfast, I mean, granted, there are people who are not going to want to shift their perspective. But for the most part, I can see where there's a breakdown in conversation or communication and kind of assist. And I've seen it in my own life, even speaking with my husband and whatnot, where there's a disconnect, and then we go back around and we'll try to put in a patch or some kind of a way where, like, if this is what we're saying and you're not, my husband used to be very defensive. I'm like, I want to just get information. And a lot of times that's what we want to reframe too. Somebody who's coming at you angry, they're not only conveying the angry words, they're also conveying, hey, I'm upset with something and I want to be validated. So words are loaded. Words are a gift. Words are simple. Words are complex. And it's all of those things. It's an amalgamation of it all. And this is the only way that we can truly communicate until we're telepathic. So
Words are important.
they're absolutely.
And Sally, when you hear words, when the angels or spirits speak to you, are they very specific in their verbiage?
Well, actually, I was just telling Wendy what happened this morning. Once in a while, you know, I have some sleeping tablets at home because if I can't sleep, I need to take something. I realized that today. So I had to take a pill, what was it, for something else, which I'm not into pills and I don't take that many, but I had it on the side of my dress. So I said, okay, I'm going to take this before I come to the studio. It was it doesn't really matter what it was for. It was no big deal. So I had the pill in my hand. I put the pill in my mouth, and I actually in my mouth to take. And I heard someone say, get rid of it, stop it. And I looked, I got it, I hadn't swallowed it. It was my sleeping pill. I was taking the wrong pill.
Wow.
So how specific was that person? I believe it was Aldo because I know that he talks to me a lot. But
It wasn't me.
no, it wasn't you. But the pill that either one of the pills I don't take very often, but they're both in a capsule. But because I don't take it that often, I didn't recognize I was taking the wrong pill. I would not be sitting here now because sleeping
be
pill
asleep?
would have totally set me to sleep. So, words, yes. Words are very important.
And, having the opportunity to walk in life side by side with Sally, you have no idea of half of the things that go on between us and in our realm, in our household, and in the car, and everything else. It's just been an amazing existence, something that's really made me grow.
Well, your life is pretty, you went through some tough stuff, and through Sally and her power of positivity, look where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? If you weren't a believer then, you sure as heck probably are a believer now.
Yes. People don't start cancer treatment and then are cancer-free in 5 months.
Well, I actually don't. I don't want to give myself credit for that, but we heal
You don't mind
ourselves.
if I do?
No, but what I'm saying is because of maybe what I talk about, and this will feel better for me also, is that somewhere Steve knew that maybe he can help himself along the journey. Because if I had just said, oh, and I had contributed to the negativity that goes along with an illness like that, if I had been more in the forefront and done more on the negative side, I would not have been able to do what I did, and he would not have, maybe, I don't know the answer, but he did, that part of his cancer did go. So it was a lot to do with words, but it's words on a higher which I had said before we left here. Let's make the show about words on a higher vibrational energy, because we're energy, and
That's
here we
gonna be
are
your show
talking.
today, right?
It was, yes, way before I knew this conversation here in the studio.
So funny.
So tell us what's on Call Me Zena today.
Words. No, words of lifting your vibrational, how important it is when whatever you're going through, a negative situation, absolutely, we all have negativity, and that's how we learn too. But to try the best that you can, and the more you're aware of what you say, you can speak into existence.
And we talk about vibrational energy all the time
yeah.
at home, both positive and negative vibrational energy, and how they differ and how they can affect your life. So I'm looking forward to the show.
Yeah, because I was saying, if you go into the negativity of words, then that's what you're going to get. I truly am a very big believer in that, and I'm not going to change that. I can't.
Your
But I
words
don't-
reinforce your reality.
Absolutely.
Your words really
Am I
reinforce-
perfect by saying everything correct? Absolutely no, but I'm aware that I'm sinking into a lower vibrational energy, so that's what the show's going to be about.
All right, raise your vibrational energy. What else you got, Freddie?
I think we've had enough for today.
All right, tune in today. Wendy, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Words definitely have power, so I always say choose wisely, use your words wisely. And words, I think, are just as powerful as what we do physically. So people who are emotionally abused hurts just as much as those wounds that you can see on the outside. So be kind to each other, as I always say. And tune in today to Call Me Zena at 2:30, Vibrational Energy. Raising your words. Be positive. Happy Monday, everyone. Stay inside, and we will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. drive time.
Well, that's about it for today. Even though the show's over, the Broken Cafe is always open for business. You're invited to join the fun every day from 12 to 2. If you missed some of the laughs from today, Dawn and Freddie S. will bring you more good cheer next time. You can follow the Brooklyn Cafe on Facebook at the Brooklyn Cafe TV to rewatch every minute of the show. We'll see you next time.